Welcome everybody. Again, my name is Amy Summers and I'm founder of INICIVOX and Pitch Publicity. I'll also be moderating our session today. So let's get started because I want to introduce you to our mentor panelists and orient everyone to our session. At INICIVOX, our goal is to equalize mentorship through virtual means, simplifying your process of connecting with mentors. We're eliminating the barriers of finding and building mentor relationships by delivering mentorship guidance directly to you without any obstacles or bureaucracy. Our aim is to expedite your career development regardless of your current career stage so you can reach your goals faster. So our mentorship format is a win-win. You're here to gain valuable insights for your immediate career growth, while our esteemed panel of mentors are eager to share their expertise with a broader audience, reaching numerous mentees, unlike the less accessible one-on-one, let's go grab coffee approach of the past. And this session is going to be brief. So let's dive right into it with our panelists with your questions. So as I introduce our panelists, I want you to please use the Q&A box to submit your questions, and you can just kind of get those going right away. And specifically, let me know if your question is for Marcy, Blake, or Edwin, and we'll be inviting some attendees to be on camera. So to be considered for this, you'll want to include if you want to be on camera for your question. So make sure to include that. If you don't want to be on camera, then just don't put that request in, and I'll ask your question for you. You can also opt for an anonymous question, and I won't even mention your name. So, and to ensure effective interaction with our mentors during the session, we encourage you to request camera time when asking questions. And when I invite you on stage, Zoom will prompt you to confirm your camera access. Simply click confirm and wait a few seconds without touching anything else on your screen. It might seem like you're leaving the Zoom room, but don't worry, you're just joining us on stage. And then once on stage, turn your video and microphone on, ask your question. After your question is answered, I'm gonna automatically return you to the audience without needing to press any buttons, and Zoom will smoothly transition you back. You will also see a chat box. Can anybody drop some chat into the chat? I see some chats happening already. Tell us where you're watching from today. Make sure when you are using the chat box that you are choosing the everyone option. So you might see host and panelists. Make sure it's clicked to everyone, and that keeps our chat public so we can all comment on what the panelists are saying, and you can also talk amongst yourselves. All right. Okay, so now that we got all of that out of the way, I am really excited to get going here. So I would like to first introduce Blake Newby. Now, I want to welcome Blake Newby back to the INICIVOX stage because actually she has been here before when we first got started. And I'm going to take you to a page on our website here at INICIVOX called Seminars, in case you want to see Blake. In our very first seminar series we did, it was on critical communication strategies in the face of racism, and she joined our fashion and beauty session. And I remember this specifically because we actually had another big time panelist who at the last minute told us she couldn't do it, but said, but one of my sisters from Howard University is going to jump in. And I was like, oh my gosh, who is this person? And it was Blake, and thank goodness it was Blake, because I think Blake, at the time, you were freelancing for some major publications in fashion. I remember you talking about your journey there, but because I have been following you, and everybody that watched this series has been following you since, your career has like blown up in 3 years. I think you called it the Howard Hustle, because I know you're.
It is the Howard Hustle. It's paid off. It's been working. It's been working.
So this is available for free. You can go back and compare Blake's advice to what she did 3 years ago. So much has changed. I'm going to take you right to her Instagram page because I want you to hit the follow button. You will be inspired daily on what Blake has to say on fashion, so you do not want to miss this. Since we last caught up with Blake, she has been a beauty and style editor for Essence magazine, Currently, she is a TV personality and style expert. You probably may have seen her on Good Morning America or Tamron Hall, or even Access Hollywood. And if you're like, I don't have a TV, it doesn't matter, because she will keep you updated right here on her Instagram page, which is all of our personal TVs. She interviews a lot of celebrities. Is there any Howard alumni in the room? Drop it in the chat if you are here, and Howard alumni or from HBCU. Ooh, look at that. Kayla, instead of racism series. You guys, this reel that Blake posted, I think yesterday, is so important. And I'm not going to turn the volume up right now. You're going to have to watch this later, but make sure you do, because if you are an HBCU student, you have a chance to win a lot of scholarship money and have Blake as your personal mentor, because AT&T has just named her their mentor for their Rising Future Maker program. And I hope I got all that right, Blake.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And then before we move on from Blake, there's so much to talk about with Blake, but I'm just, this is my favorite recent post to Blake, because she said, I'm going off my regular content, and these are pictures of my dad at the US Open. And first, what caught my eye was, that is a lovely gator dress, Blake. And I know you're not a gator, but Edwin can attest to this. Do you have any gators in the room that like this gator dress that Blake is wearing? I guess it could be a Mets dress too, but your dad is so fashionable. And I was just wondering, oh, that's you, but your dad,
he's really not fashionable. That is all the work of my mother. She styled him for the occasion.
Okay, I thought it was your work. So I was going to tell older people in the room, Blake has style tips for you too. Look at that.
Yes.
I don't know who that guy is, but your dad's looking good.
That's one of our favorite actors. I don't know if you watched the show The Bear.
Oh, yes. I watched one episode. I couldn't do any more than that.
Yes, that is cousin from The Bear. And I looked to the side, and my dad had beelined over, and I was like, oh, this is going to be a long day.
Oh, boy. All right. So follow Blake. Welcome, Blake. Next, and all her information is in the chat. Edwin. Okay, don't get scared. I'll explain in just a minute. So speaking of gators, so Edwin is a gator. I keep bringing this up because many of you know that my alma mater is the University of Florida, and he now lives in New York, specifically Brooklyn. And I have personally been stalking Edwin for 3 years. He finally said yes to me, and now he's here. I'm so excited with all his advice. Edwin Exhaust is the e-commerce manager for Bobbi Brown and Cosmetics North America. I have to get all that in because he told me that was a legal way to say it.
Yes.
And he also, speaking of hustles, gators are hustlers too, right, Edwin? I mean, we are gators in the house. Let's let Edwin know you're here. Say go Gators. Edwin has also a side hustle, which has turned into quite the big business here. And this boy box is what you need to check out. He is re-engineering men's underwear. So he is, in addition to having beauty expertise, he also has fashion expertise and has launched Boy Box. So if you are a guy and you're uncomfortable all the time, you definitely want to follow Edwin, because you're going to get a lot less uncomfortable, right? Because he has a new fashion line for you underneath. But Edwin has tons of experience with Estee Lauder, Saks Fifth Avenue. I'm very glad that he's here. So Edwin, thank you for joining us today. And now I would like to introduce Marcy Zira. So speaking of people that say yes, I have to say, when I asked Marcy to be on a stage, and it was a real stage, not a virtual stage, back in 2007, she said yes right away, Edwin, and she didn't know who I was. I just thought she was pretty, and I had to get her on my stage for my fundraising event, and she said yes right away. It might be one of the reasons that one of her companies, I'll have to find it because she has so many things going on. Oh, you know this guy here, Nigel Barker. Anybody American Top Model fan? Throw it in the chat if you are. So Marcy says yes a lot. It might explain why she is immensely popular. It has a humongous, massive following. It could also due to the fact that she invented the word eco-fashion. So we talk about it now like it's a thing, but Marcy was talking about it when everyone thought she was crazy. And here she is many, many years later. And if you're walking through Times Square, you might have even seen this. She has won many, many awards for her work in sustainable fashion and eco-fashion. She is a very dear friend of mine over the years. We've done many projects together, and she's highly successful at what she does. She has a book called Eco Renaissance, Co-Creating a Stylish and Sexy Sustainable World. And as I mentioned, she has started many companies, including was the founder of Under the Canopy. She's been a producer of a documentary called Thread, Driving Fashion Forward. She's board chair of the Textile Exchange and recipient of countless awards. We don't even have time to go into all of them, but please follow Marcy because you're going to be really super impressed. One more thing before we leave Marcy. She just launched this farm to home organic line. I was actually at this event with Marcy in New York last week. And this can be found on HSN. And just side note, you don't have to have a TV to order off at HSN. They actually have a website and you can see live. And I've always said, anybody that can do QVC and HSN and be a success, like that is top tier. Marcy has done both. She did such a good job at QVC. They were like, you have to go to HSN. So she's done both. And if you want to have a good, peaceful night's sleep and know that you are not ruining the environment, but you are actually helping your health, you better buy some of these bed sheets, because I'm telling you, this is the latest in fashion. We're excited to have you here, Marcy.
Thanks, Amy. Thanks for having me.
All right. So great. Everybody's in the room. As I mentioned, we're going to get to some questions right away. And I just want to kick it off with a question because I'm just curious. So when I started my career, when I started Pitch, I was in my mid-20s, and I was always dressed like I was older because I did not want people, I wanted people to take me seriously. I owned a company and I didn't want them to think that I was just a little girl. And now that I'm older, it's like, should I dress younger? And, you know, like some of my friends, I think they dress too young. So this is just a round robin question to get us started. And then I'm going to start bringing people in with their questions. And I hate to pick on the young ones first, but we're going to pick on the young ones first. So, and Edwin, I'm going to start with you. I just want to know about dressing your age, because even like, and Blake, I know you've done stuff with Rent the Runway. I know there's like this option, like, do you want to dress your age? And they give you the age ranges, which I find is pretty funny. But what does it mean to dress your age? Should we be dressing our age throughout our professional career? And what does that look like to you, Edwin? Just give me a quick answer on this one.
No, absolutely. Taking age out of the question, I think what's most important is dressing comfortably. Because I realized when I was like you, Amy, when I was starting in my career, I always tended to dress older. So like a proper button down, slacks, Oxfords, and I was super uncomfortable and it showed. So I think once you dress comfortably and appropriate to your environment, it allows you to feel confident, which will help you perform at your best ability. So it's more so dressing comfortably rather than dressing age appropriately.
Okay, Blake, how would you answer that question?
I couldn't agree more. I mean, so transparently, I don't often dress comfortably. If you see some of the things I wear, I'm really willing to put myself through it for the look. However, the point that Edwin made about dressing for the environment, it's really about dressing for the occasion. And I think that there's a lot of emphasis on age and not the occasion. And I think that, you know, for some things, a button down and an Oxford is appropriate and it's all of the things. But if that's not the occasion, then it's not necessarily always called for. And so I try to dress more for the occasion than my age. I mean, I will definitely say now that I've transitioned to TV, age is a much bigger deal. So sometimes it is when I tend to want to dress more mature. Sometimes I'll be like, you don't need to be chasing any extra years here. So I really do think that it really just depends on what your ultimate goal is, and where you're going.
All right, Marcy, bring us home. Dressing your age. Should we be dressing our age? This is the future talking. Everybody listen up. Here we go.
Well, a couple of things. First, I want to kick off just by saying, you know, as Coco Chanel once said, that you can be gorgeous at 30, charming at 40 and irresistible for the rest of your life, right? So I think age is just a number. As somebody who has a almost 29-year-old daughter who we love to share clothes, I would say that fashion is very personal. It's obviously an extension of who we are. It's about our style. So we need to more dress for our body versus our age. To me, as somebody in there, well, I was 3 when my daughter was born. Haha. But no, for me, obviously, when I was in my teens, I was, thought I was Madonna, right? Like, I'm not going to do that today. So, I think there is an element of you evolve as you get older, dress where you are in life. I think, whatever that means to you, you're going to gain wisdom and experience over the years as to kind of where those boundaries are. I echo what Edwin said and Blake said around comfort. For me, especially, coming out of the pandemic more than ever before, I think we all are looking through the lens of comfort in a different way. It's about fit, but comfort. And I think it's time we, invest in statements as well. I happen to also be a big Rent the Runway fan. I'm glad you brought that up earlier. I never check the box when I'm filtering about age, because for me, some of the outfits I've loved the most might have only been in the 20-year-old category, 30-year-old category. So I think you have to, find your own place. Again, that doesn't go out of style because it's who you are. And then also, accessorize and, be smart around how you accent, your clothing pieces, because that says a lot also about, who you are and sometimes even about, who you want to project yourself to be, right? So I think it's all about being authentic to who you are in style.
All right, thank you. Well, the questions are pouring in, so we're going to go ahead and bring someone on stage. We're going to, Diego has a question, so I'm going to promote him to panelist right now. And then Diego, when you come up on stage, just turn your video and mic on. And you have a question, I think, for Marcy.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining this wonderful Zoom. Yes, I do have a question for Marcy. As a leader in sustainable fashion, I want to ask you, are there any specific certifications or labels that I should look for when buying sustainable clothing for professional events?
Yes. Okay. So first of all, I'll start with organic, right? Everybody, I'm sure here who's listening in is familiar with the organic food seal, right? We cannot use that on textiles because the allowances that are, the exceptions, the 5%, are all food specific. So I was actually on the team of people that developed something in the 90s that launched in 2006 called the GOTS standard, the Global Organic Textile Standard. That seal is farm to finished product. It's all the way from the fiber and material, the fiber that mimics, it actually mirrors the organic food seal for all of the requirements at that level. But then when you take it to finished product, it also includes the dyes, the finishes, the packaging, every single touch point, including social compliance, right? So when you buy a GOTS certified product, which at my brand, Yes And is an example, if you want to, see what a GOTS logo looks like, yesand.style, that means a finished product is certified to the organic standard, and it's been adopted by the USDA as the highest standard for an organic textile. Now, having said that, if it's not organic, meaning the fibers aren't at least 70% certified organic or 95, if you're using an organic claim, there are other certifications to look for. So if you want a fair trade certified product, Fair Trade USA has a certification. If you want a circular product, you can either look for the Cradle to Cradle logo for Fashion Positive, which I also was involved in both of those standards. There is a certification called Okotex, which means no harmful dyes or substances have been added on top of the product in the finishing. And so I would say those are probably your key front forward-facing certifications that you would want to look at.
All right, great. Thank you, Diego. And Diego actually works on the pitch team. I made him go first. You did a good job.
One more I want to add. I'm so sorry. Okay. Go ahead, finish. And then I want to
go. Tell us.
An important one that I just blanked. Okay, so the Textile Exchange, of which I'm the chair of the board, which is why I'm like, jumping in here. We have a standard on the fibers for recycled product, which is the Global Recycled Standard, right? GRS. And then there's also for fiber alone, the OCS, the organic content standard. And then for wool and for down, there's the responsible wool standard, responsible down standard. These are all standards under the umbrella of the textile exchange. So I would have been remiss to not throw that in. Sorry.
Thank you so much.
All right, so Diego's going to go backstage. We have another question. This one looks like it's for Blake. I'm going to bring Shelby up on stage. And Shelby, when you get up here, you can turn your camera on and your audio on and ask Blake your question. See if she's come. Oh, there she is.
Hi, Blake. So I wanted to ask, I saw you worked at a lot of organizations, like major beauty organizations like Allure and Glamour. So what's a major change that you've noticed in fashion trends since working there? And what are some that have stayed, or what are your favorite trends that have stayed over time?
And you mean you mean industry trends or actual fashion trends?
I would say industry trends.
Industry trends. Well, there's visibly smaller teams. Most people don't have teams. When I first started, my first ever industry job was at Glamour, and I came into an 8-person beauty team, which now is absolutely unheard of. Like, it's absolutely unheard of. What would happen now is 9 times out of 10, it's one person who leads, and they have a sea of freelance writers that they'll call on daily. So I definitely, I get asked all the time from young women and young men who want to be an editorial, what do you suggest? And I have to be honest in telling them that there are not many roles. Nobody is cultivating talent anymore. When I came in, I was a closet assistant, right? So there were 7 people above me who all had different levels of experience that could kind of pour into me, or they just had the time and the resources to do so. Now you don't have that again because it's one person leading an entire team. These brands also are now even bigger content mules than they were before. So they're having to push out these exorbitant amounts of stories per day. They just don't have time to pour into young talent, as I feel like I was able to be poured into when I came into the industry. I also think that when you look at there also used to be a pipeline, I feel like, to styling, right? Like fashion closet assistants. There used to be this pipeline to where they could become stylists or designers or things like that, because again, there were the resources and the people to pour into them. And I found that now, number one, there's far less closet assistants. And when I do talk to those people who are closet assistants, they tell me that it really is, it's not as they're not able to do as much as they could before. They're not able to assist with styling and things like that because, again, the workloads are just bigger. And that is not to discourage anyone, but I think part of mentorship is honesty. And I would be remiss not telling you all that there is a huge shift in the way that editorial looks and the opportunities within editorial at these publications. I don't think anybody ever thought that Allure would stop print. In fact, people were telling people when all these changes were happening at Condé Nast, we're not closing Allure print. We're not closing Allure print. 6 months later, Allure print was closed. So I think you have to be very nimble. And I also tell people, don't make your only goal editorial. So be willing to shift to marketing, PR, just be willing to be flexible, because journalism really is changing, and it's changing very quickly.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Not
Shelby.
to be a Debbie Downer. I feel so bad. I'm like, is that like, I'm sorry, guys. It's what's happening.
I'm going to send you back, Shelby. We have another question coming in. Edwin, you're going to be up next because I'm going to bring Leah up on stage to ask her question to you. And Leah, when you get up here, you can turn your camera on.
Hi.
Hi.
So I know you work with Estee Lauder, so I was wondering what your best tips are for ensuring a makeup look for the day in the office or a work cocktail hour is perfect, not overstated or understated. And then what can you do to transition a makeup look from one to the other?
Absolutely. And it's actually crazy because I've never thought I would be speaking on beauty as much as I am now. I never pictured myself to be a beauty expert, but you learn very quickly when you're selling the product. So what I can say, and especially here at Bobbi Brown, I'm not sure if you guys are all familiar, but the brand was solely built on artistry. So what we strive and what we push to our audience is skin. Skincare is the basis of any perfect makeup look. So makeup looks always look great when the skin is fully prepped. So here at Bobbi Brown, our vitamin-enriched face base and our eye base are the ultimate multitaskers. So they treat skin and prime skin for makeup performance. So without any foundation, your makeup look will crumble, essentially. So once your skin is prepped, what you want to do is choose like long wearing products that will perform all day. So for our foundation, we have our Skin Longwear Weightless Foundation, which is a 16-hour wear foundation. So it's a perfect transitional foundation that would take you from day to night with like small to little no applications throughout the day. And also you want to build your coverage, which allows the control of your coverage. So like a long wear cream shadow stick, which is a 24-hour eyeshadow, which is easiest way to create like a polished eye look in seconds. So finishing that look up with a statement lip can also be great for day to night.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is that good, Leah?
Yeah, I'm taking notes. I'm definitely gonna buy some of those products later today.
All right, we're sending you back to attendee. We have another question. This is coming from Brenna. So I'm going to bring Brenna, I'm going to bring you up on to our stage. And hopefully I'm saying your name correctly. You can correct me if I'm wrong once you're up here. Brenna, I know you have a question for Marcy. Am I saying your name right, Brenna? Can you turn your mic on?
Yes, you got it right.
Okay, so your question's for Marcy. Go ahead.
So as someone who's going to be entering the workforce soon, I wanted to know if you had like a favorite resource, whether it's a favorite store, a favorite brand for sustainable workwear clothing.
Yeah, so I would say this. There are a lot of players coming into sustainable fashion that could accommodate workwear. Having, depends on where you're going to work, right? So some of my favorite brands, I'll just say that, have done a very good job at kind of a little more tailored looks. Might be another, this is going to be, I'm going to go from the expensive to the more affordable. Okay. So you've got brands like Another Tomorrow. You have, Mara Hoffman, Reformation, right? You have, for me, and I mentioned this earlier, I am a huge fan of Rent the Runway, right? For me, like, why invest into, a whole bunch of outfits that you can invest a little bit every month and have a new outfit every day, and then return it and have new outfits, right? Like, so, I think that's where you're going to get the widest selection. And the reason that I'm putting that in the bucket of sustainable is because it's part of the circular economy, right? Part of the issue with consumerism is, we've treated sort of the proliferation of fashion, right? Going from maybe 2 to 4 seasons a year to 52 seasons a year as this, movement that people want that newness, that fresh look. But what it's done is it's birthed a monster, right? The fast fashion movement is actually, driving massive impact in energy, water, waste, chemical use, social justice issues, right? So when you look at a rental model, it's not based on linear where it ends up in the, in the landfills. It's based on keeping it in the system. So that is definitely part of the equation. The two biggest buckets, I think, for sustainable fashion are fibers and materials. So when we're making new clothing, we want to use organic, regenerative, and circular fibers and materials because 70% of the impacts of fashion are actually at the fiber and material level. So we want to move away from all the virgin synthetics like virgin polyesters, right? And when so that's buying new, but then on the other side, you've got the renting, reuse, repurposing, stores like the Real, right? Poshmark, where you can buy used clothes. Thrifting, ThredUp is a great resource, right, for used clothing. So there's, you've kind of have both sides of the equation to choose from at different price points.
Thank you. That's very helpful.
Good question, Brenna. All right, we're going to shoot you back, Brenna. And then we have another question. This is coming in. I think it's addressed to kind of anybody. Afrika. Afrika, going to promote you up to panelist. I remember Afrika. She worked on our racism series with us, and she's a Gator, Edwin. So here she comes. Make sure you turn your camera on and your mic.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Oh, my question. I was asking about what kind of trends do you see happening in the fashion industry in the workplace? And as Gen Z specifically is becoming far more relaxed with how they dress in the workplace and professional spaces, like, do you think our generation should be more encouraged to dress up and put in more effort into how we look when we're in those environments?
Let's go around the room on this one. Edwin, you want to start? Gator advice?
Absolutely. I think working in fashion and beauty, we're placed in a very unique position where we have the ability to be a bit more creative with how we put our looks together, how we like step outside, how we present ourselves. It's not as corporate facing. So we're not all expected to wear like a suit. We're not like all expected to wear like pencil skirts. We have the ability to show our personality, which is great. In moderation, of course. So I feel like it goes back to understanding your environment, your setting, and like where you're going. So definitely, especially just speaking from my experience, I've always had the ability to showcase my personality through my clothing. I'm more of like a mood dresser, so I dress based on my mood and like how I feel for that day. And I've always had the ability to comp together a look that makes sense for the environment that I'm going to, like whether it be in an office or way back when I was attending shows or market meetings, I had the ability to like put together an outfit that made sense and still be deemed appropriate for that setting. So I think you're placed also in a unique experience if you're stepping into like a fashion space or a beauty space where you have the ability to, dress a bit more loosely. And I say that in the sense of like not as rigid in a sense, and showcase your personality.
Blake, advice for Gen Z. Should they be chill and wearing sneakers? Is that okay? I know millennials wear sneakers too. Marcy and I are still
millennials do wear sneakers. Like I said, I think it all depends on the occasion. I think that the dressing down does not mean not valuing presentability, if that makes sense. So I think that there is a fine line to tote in, just because you can wear sweats, should you? Granted, there are incredible ways to dress up sweats. If you want to wear sweats, why not dress up sweats, right? I think that the reality is, I think that in the workplace, it should always look like there was effort put into it. Just being comfortable doesn't mean that there's not effort put into the outfit. Like I said, sweats can be dressed up. Anything can be dressed up. So I think that for Gen Z, I would say, like Edwin said, they have a lot more freedom, but just make sure that the way that you present still looks like there was effort and thought put into it.
Marcy, how do you tell your daughter to dress? She was telling me at your event, Mom is going to be so mad at me because I showed up here in my sweatshirt.
Well, okay. So in all fairness, my daughter definitely, style is not like, she's an incredible performer. Style's not like her front, my son, very, very fashion forward. So given that it was a launch party, I was like, all right, honey, let me dress you. But having said that, I really am a huge believer, again, going back to what I said earlier, that, how you dress is very personal. It's kind of building off actually what Edwin said is, your style can actually make a statement, even if it's quote dressed down. Like I have a great pair of Stella platform sneakers that I'll wear to a fashion event, a high fashion event. It's like, how do you sort of marry kind of that hybrid of like being comfortable and cool with, your own sense of how you define, who you are, right? I think you look at a John Fetterman in Congress, like breaking the stigma of you have to wear a corporate suit to be in Congress, or Mark Zuckerberg, with the same outfit, in major boardrooms, So I think we're in a new world where I don't think the world of yesterday, going back to even what Blake was saying about where the fashion world used to be, and, it's a different world. And I think people, what they respect is individuality, truth, right? And ultimately, allowing yourself to have the freedom to be who you are.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. That was really helpful.
Thanks, Afrika. Thank you. All right, I'm going to push you back to attendee, and I'm going to bring to stage next. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to see Kayla here. Kayla has a question. It looks like it might be for everybody, but Kayla, she worked with us also on the racism series, and she's a Howard alum. So I'm going to let Bison to Bison. You're Bison, right? Is that Bison? Go Bison. Okay, I got it. Sending Kayla our way here. Let's see if she ends up on stage. Hopefully there she is. We're going to let Blake go first with Kayla. Kayla, you can turn your video and mic on. Oh,
Hi, Amy. So great to see you guys.
I'm gonna let you ask your question. I told Blake she could go first since she's a Howard.
Amazing. Thank you guys so much. My question is, as we look into, being more sustainable in our beauty and fashion choices, how do we as Gen Z or just younger people advocate for more diversity in our shopping experiences, whether it be in shade range or in sizing or even affordability?
Well, I think the beautiful thing, what I absolutely love about Gen Z is the way that you all use your platforms in such ways that I definitely at you all's age didn't feel as empowered or as brave to do. So I mean, I think about TikTok about it. Like, to me, it's like, so, you know what I'm saying? Like, I've seen so many TikToks where Gen Z has started movements on things like that. Like, I think there are so many creators that you spoke about shade range specifically. There are so many creators who call out shade ranges. One of which, who I love, y'all are going to tell me if I miss her name, Gloria. Yes, she's everybody's favorite, right? Like there are so many ways to really kind of like start movements and things like that. And I think that social media really is the best way to go about that first. Like, I think, yeah, in the perfect world, you all could contact the people in product development and send them an email, but that is not the most effective way to do so, right? Brands are scared of bad TikTok press. They're terrified of bad TikTok press. Everyone's like, please, enough. Estee, though, Estee's never had shade range issues ever. But when you talk about like size inclusivity, like even when I think about what Remy Botter has done with clothing, right, and pushing the narrative around size inclusivity, just use your platform to talk about these things, because what you will find, like I said, with these creators, is that there's so many hundreds, thousands, even millions of other people who feel the exact same way you do. They just haven't said it, right? And so I think that to me, from what I've seen, is the best way to really mobilize from the Gen Z perspective.
Thank you.
Of course.
Anyone else want to chime in? Edwin, do you want to give Kayla some feedback on this question, how to advocate for more diversity in beauty?
Absolutely. I think, and I do agree with Blake immensely, is like using your platform, because a lot of change has come from social media, and we've seen this a lot in 2020. But, using your platforms to really advocate for something that you believe in, because I mean, speaking from a brand perspective, we have no choice but to comply to what the consumer is asking for. We can't have a business without the consumer. So essentially, it's more of like getting people on board and like alignment overall as a brand. But if you keep advocating for it, we have no choice but to comply, essentially. And just like continuing to support the brands that are doing what you favor. For example, if you are looking for a brand that has 60 shades in foundation, we currently don't do that, but Rihanna does it well. NARS does it well. Like, so continue to support those brands who are doing the things that you are advocating for, and like giving them more of like a voice, because then you can also have people, support that platform and really like make it the standard of what, beauty should be doing across the board.
And I want Marcy to weigh in on this, but Marcy, I want you to take it a step further, because you're really big on advocacy. We've been talking about clothes and cosmetics, but you're into bedding and stuff, so that might confuse people. And I remember when I was at your your premiere recently, you're talking about how we can advocate for things in other areas of our life. Can you explain a little bit about what you're doing with your new line of bedding and how even advocating in different areas is part of fashion? The couch behind me, everything that we do.
Well, first I'll just say, you know, the younger generations, I think there's never been a generation more than now that is talking about sustainability and how important it is to this generation. Because look, you'd be pretty asleep to not see what's going on in the world around the climate crisis. Like, it's not even climate change anymore. It's like every week there's a catastrophic event, right? We all are in this together. We all are sharing the planet. So why I'm doing brands like Farm to Home and Yes and Seed to Style and MetaWear, which is my private label manufacturing company that's working with the likes of some of the biggest brands and retailers in the world right now to help them become more sustainable, is really because we have to scale sustainability and make it affordable to the masses. The reason we're in this big, huge issue in the first place, or a lot of it, is, you know, again, the proliferation of, you know, mass industry with no accountability around the what, the where, the how, the when, and the who, right? And therefore, you've got the Sheins of the world and the Forever 21s and all these companies out there that the younger generations, the Gen Zs, and the millennials, but for them, you know, we're really like all in on that whole kind of fast fashion movement. So here's what I would say is why I'm doing what I'm doing is to bridge those things, right? To give solutions to the younger generations who say, I want sustainable fashion and home, but I can't afford it, right? I can only afford fast fashion. And so how do we solve for that, right? How do we meet, not only on my B2B side, meet brands and retailers where they are and help them to create products that are more accessible, authentic, affordable, and sustainable, but also how do I build brands that I can offer to the Costco's, Targets, Walmarts, you know, of the world, HSN and QVC, that you can no longer have that excuse, and thereby kind of building off what Edwin said with beauty, vote with your dollars, right? Support the brands, the products, the retailers that are doing well by doing good. Right. And the power of the Gen Z movement. I mean, I just came from a retail influencer event with Women's Wear Daily. That was the ESG award that I just got in Times Square. You know, there was a whole group of people called the Z Suite that's kind of, you know, your generation really looking at where do you channel that TikTok, social and digital media energy, channel it into the things that matter to you, right? Because right now there's a disconnect in that. And I think there's a desire to drive change, but if you keep supporting the old systems, we're not going to get the change we all want to see.
Thank you. So, Kayla, you got a lot of good answers. You got a lot to think about.
Yes, thank you guys so much. Especially one of my clients right now is Mattress Firm, so that's super helpful, you know, just for my personal day-to-day work. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Kayla. I'm going to send you back, and we are wrapping up. Wow, this has been a really big discussion. I wasn't expecting all these tough questions to you guys. So just in wrapping, we're kind of right at that 1 minute mark. I just wanted to wrap with everybody really quick and maybe end on a lighter note. We're on Zoom now. A lot of media interviews when I'm coaching clients, they're on Zoom, and I'm always trying to coach them about what to wear and, you know, how to look. And then we might have a lot of young professionals, students, or people even changing careers that have to do interviews on Zoom. So I just want to go around the room and ask everyone for their just quick advice. If you're in a pinch, you got to do an interview. GMA is calling Blake and say, yeah, you got to be on like in 10 minutes. Like, I'm sure that's never happened to you, right? No. Or, you know, Edwin, you know, some other cosmetic company that competes with Bobbi Brown's like, hey, we want to interview you now on your lunch break. Like, what can you do like really fast to like have your best look on Zoom? And Blake, we'll start with you. So GMA on the mind, I'm sure.
I go I usually go black and like something that's just very like simple like this. I will not say what brand this is because it is absolutely not sustainable. And I feel like that goes against everything that we have discussed this entire time. But I usually go like, it's very comfy what I'm wearing. Like it's a very comfortable thing like that. And nobody cares about what you wear at the bottom. So I have on yoga leggings. So it's like, nobody cares about the bottom, but I try to go like a simple color, just something very easy like this.
All right, Edwin, quick hit. You got to be on Zoom. What do you grab?
Very basic. I'm always gonna like pull a button down, like a white button down. It's easy, it's straightforward, clean. Like there's no extra jazz that you need to do to it. So white button down, and to Blake's point, the bottom doesn't matter. So I'm probably like or boxers. God forbid they tell me to stand up. But definitely a
promote
white
your
button
other
down.
line though. We want to see
Yeah,
it.
I know.
What a way, that would be the way to end it, but
In some
I
cases,
know, right?
right?
Or it could be scandal. So
Right.
Marcy, HSN is calling. They don't have time to fly you down to Tampa. They're like, need you now. You're dealing with hurricanes and climate crisis, and they're like, go into your studio in New York and you just get on Zoom. What do you go for? How? And you're selling on HSN. So what is, you know, are you showing all your cleavage off? Are you like, how are you presenting yourself?
Well, given that I was going live on QVC from home on Skype, literally, so i.e., you know, your version Zoom, you know, I would say rule of thumb, stay away from prints because it can get too busy and confusing. Stay solid, like Blake was saying. For me, I'm lucky because I have fashion brands like Yes And, which I'm wearing right now. Yes, it's solid black. Yes, it's super comfortable. It's an organic cotton tencel blend, like yummy, but it's a really cute jumpsuit. Super, you know, like stylish. The fit's great. So for me, it's about, again, being who you are. I'm wearing my own brand. I'm authentic on the screen. I think color, I'm not opposed to. I think you look great, Amy, and you're in your blue. I think having a pop of color is a great thing too. And that's something that HSN and QVC actually would say, do not wear black, do not wear white, right? It's all about wearing a solid color. So I just wore a hot pink on HSN a couple weeks ago, and it was a great show. I'm going to say maybe it was because Barbie is so hot right now, but yeah, but I think when you have a pop and you're on a screen, it can like bring life, right, to your presence. So yeah.
Well, thank you all. This has been so great, and then some quick hit mentorship advice. And thank you all the attendees who came today. It was recorded because I did figure that out in the beginning. Thank goodness. So if you missed it, you can watch it on INICIVOX later. And we have another one of these coming up on October 18th, same time, 12 to 12:45. Mark your calendars. It's all going to be about mentorship on how to network at a trade show. Trade shows are super overwhelming. They can be hard to manage and stand out. So hopefully you'll take all this fashion advice and then our networking tips in the next one. So when you get ready for trade show season, you will be prepared. Thank you, Edwin, Blake, Marcy, so much for coming on today. And we hope you guys have a great, fashionable rest of your week. Thank you.